at the Chattanooga Choo-Choo, track 29. Oh, won't you give me a sign? Can you afford to board the Chattanooga Choo-Choo? Just a trifle to spare.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. In this video I'm going to be sharing all of my online finds ever since going back to probably mid-July. I got 5 LPs. Very excited to talk about these because of course this is stuff that I've been wanting to pick up as opposed to, stumbling upon something that I've wanted that comes finding its way at the shop. But I'm going to start this video off sharing some singles that I picked up at the shop today. By the way, I'm recording this at night on the weekend, but you'll be seeing this later down the road. Just figure it's a good opportunity to record a video. Everybody's being quiet tonight, so that's good. Just never know about the apartment complex life. But anyways, I'm going to share these singles really quick. Just pick these up. These first two are sort of non-LP, one lone singles from ABC Records. This is one called The Carousel, the only one for me, which I do believe is the B-side. The A-side might be One Mistake. Yeah, so it's the A-side. Promo copy, white label promo. These are pretty cheap, but this is kind of like this is like a one-sided piece here. That's the one to check out. From what I remember, it's kind of like a jangly sunshine pop kind of track.
Although I seem so very shy, I often sit and wonder why. Before you say I cannot hear, please turn away, don't come near.
I could say probably about the same thing for this one too. This is a stock copy on ABC. Forever Rain, or Forever Children, Only the Rain. And then I think it's the A-side Merry-Go-Round. Not the standout track. I'd say, yeah, the other one, Only the Rain. It's pretty similar. It's kind of folk poppy, kind of jangly. Kind of in the same ballpark as the first one here.
I went to my window and I looked down to the ground, but it was only the rain making sound.
They're one and only singles from two different groups. It's kind of interesting. Then of course this is the standout one. You can pick this up for cheap, but I've just never spotted a copy. This is Bluebird by Eternity's Children. Unfortunately it doesn't have, I think it came with a picture sleeve, right? I remember seeing that. And then Little Boy on the other side, $4. And of course I've never spotted their Tower Record LP. Still waiting for the day I find that for, I'd like to find it under $100, but I've just never even in person spotted a copy. Especially like their second, I'll probably never see, but yeah, that first one's pretty tough on Tower. All right, diving into this first one here, I was actually inspired by Dom. He picked up an original copy of this one, and I would think they're pretty tough out there these days, considering it was a small run. Sort of a private pressing, is that right? This is a reissue I picked up on back in mid-July, and this is on the UR Cosmos label. It's the band Aura. This is a self-titled one only LP from 1969. I think it was recorded the year prior. They only lasted for like a year together and then formed into Byzantine. At least the lead guy did, Jamie Rubinstein. And I think Robin Sylvester, he later played with some incarnation of live Grateful Dead band. That was what I read up on that. But yeah, private pressing. I would say primarily this kind of fits in sort of the chamber folk, psych folk area. They do a few different things on here. Notably, the standout for me, my introduction to this album was the track Witch, which is spelled Whitch. It's like a 5 to 6 minute kind of heavy psych jam. It's got these really warbled vocals throughout and kind of rocks. It's very, very distinguishable, very much a part of anything else going on here.
And if you think that you can take over, look around and look a bit
Otherwise, for the most part, this is very much a old English way of style. It's very romanticized. You got a lot of themes of like, you know, having a lady friend over for some tea and crumpets, which I really love, man. They really nail that style down well. Really reminds me of Giles, and Fripp, you know, minus the poetry that they do. Also maybe a little bit of Agincourt style, sort of in that ballpark. I wouldn't say it's terribly low production, but it's definitely not, you know, Abbey Road Studios level. And yeah, some of the tracks just continuously flow along really nicely. Love the first stretch of the first 3 tracks, Seashore, About You, and Deborah. Have a little bit of like a drum break happening there. Maybe not, or maybe break beats is the right terminology. We've got a track called Fly, which has some kind of like weird phasing effects, almost like sort of an 80s minimal synth kind of phase to it. It's very strange. But yeah, and the track You is a very nice slice of sort of Baroque pop. Very wistful, very whimsical in sound.
You catch the rain and in the sunshine with your love. You make something out of nothing when we're lost. You make everything fun.
Aura. This is kind of re-sparked my love for this one because I knew of, like I said, the Witch track, but kind of forgot how good the rest of this was. So picked up on a copy, like $25 or so on Discogs, and just, you know, pulled the trigger. Sounds great. I think You Are the Cosmos is a legitimate label too. I think there's some other stuff pressed on there. So as far as like the originals go, this is the original score out of the whole bunch that I'm really proud to pick up on finally. I've literally had this on the want list for probably 5+ years on Discogs, which is kind of a long time considering this doesn't go for like a whole lot, maybe $50 plus in that region. But I was waiting for a $20 or so copy of this, and it finally happened. This was like $25 altogether. This is Scorpion, self-titled, one and only LP from Detroit, and it's also on the Tower label. You know, the only thing about this one, it's got, you know, kind of deteriorating on the bottom, as you can see. Seams are all together though, and not terribly bad ring wear, and looks like cow udders there with that graphic. It's kind of strange, but this is kind of a slept-on record, man, at least in my opinion. The ones that know, you know. It just doesn't get a whole lot of discussion when we're talking about the sort of harder-edged funk rock titles from Detroit. Very much has that kind of, you know, funkadelic in nature, but not nearly as spaced out as they get on their first 2 or 3 albums. Definitely sticks to more of a psychedelic soul funk rock approach. And these guys, you know, some of the members would later go on to Rare Earth and Dennis Coffey and the Guitar Ensemble, or whatever it's called. A couple members worked with like Dennis Coffey and that whole gang, you know, in that Detroit area. And then the lead vocalist, Mike Campbell, he goes by on the back here. He would later be an actor, go under the name Michael Champion. I only recognize that guy from, he's like one of the villains in Beverly Hills Cop of all movies. Like, he must have just stayed around, must have been just a Detroit actor, I would assume. I don't know, but it's kind of interesting how some people start out in the music business and then they go into acting career. Yeah, some great standouts on here with the first track, Running From Myself. It's got some weird like vocal scatting at first, and then it kind of drops into sort of the use of a fuzz bass and all these other really hard-edged, nice crisp drum production going on.
Down another road I go. Every day alone in town.
A couple moments where they get a little ballady, a little bit like Little Wing, Jimi Hendrix kind of affair going on. Great use of wah pedal. And then probably my other favorite standouts, Wildflower, talking about getting stoned. And then Happy Blues Time is another great, probably one of the more hard rocking tracks, a little more upbeat. Great use of wah guitar, and vocals are pretty manic at times, and a lot of great workouts happening. So highly recommend this if you haven't heard it. I think you can pick up the reissues pretty cheap yet. They're like identical reissues for maybe 20 bucks or less maybe. But yeah, I was holding my breath for an original and finally happened. It's kind of hard to find in decent shape, it seems. So plays really well. This is actually on the multicolor Tower label. It's like a strong VG. It's not like a super clean, crisp copy, but this will do. Sounds really nice. Yeah, kind of interesting that it's on the Tower label. You would expect something like that to be on maybe Rare Earth. Man, really excited to talk about these next two. This is one that, again, long time want. Well, these next two are long time wants, finally acquired. Yeah, usually when you spot reissues of this, they're typically overseas or you just never spot them. But I finally picked up on this. This is like an unofficial reissue of Roger, I want to say Rodier, with his album Upon Velveter. Have a hard time pronouncing some of these things. Well, anyways, this came out in like, I want to say 72. And this is on the Sagara label. In 2015 this came out of Portugal. Even though it is unofficial, this does sound really good. I think the only other ones that came out were maybe Sunbeam. I think reissued this too. Might be a 2 LP set, I forget. But man, this is so good. This is like one of my all-time favorite sort of progressive psych folk records from Canada for sure. Just every track. I mean, this is one of those rare occasions where every track works. There's like not one single lull in this one. Starting with the first strongest tracks. I mean, listen to these chords I play. My Spirit's Calling might be my favorite off of here. I'm kind of shifting towards more of a hard rock style with Am I Supposed to Let It By Again. Has some like background female vocals. I think they appear in a few different times on this record, so got some background female vocals, which do work. Sounds like you put a lot of production money into this one. Sounds very clean, very nice sounding recording. Yeah, if you love that chamber folk, that's sort of on the spiritual side. If you love your Columbia 360 Canadian only releases, this is like top tier, man. And originals are pretty tough. I mean, they're, again, probably in the 500, 800 range Canadian. That's just how it is these days. But man, I'm really happy with the $18 reissue I found. I do wish, the photo copy, whatever they pressed this on, was a little more true to the original, but it'll do. I'm just really happy about the sound quality. It does really sound pretty good. I can't hear much compression or too much digital work. There might be a little bit, Might be from a CD copy, I don't know. But this is what the label looks like. So highly recommend this one if you ever spot it out there. Like I said, reissues are a bit tough to come by on this one. They're just always overseas. And there were like a couple US copies the day I searched for it. So again, one of those cases I just bit the bullet, as well as this next one, which I'm eager to talk about as well. It's the intro to this video. Unfortunately, I can't do any samples of the Rodier record, but you'll get a little taste of this one alongside Mickey Rooney kind of freaking out on some psychedelics, you could say. So this is, Madrigal from 1971. Man, I've been wanting this for so long. This is a Subliminal Sounds reissue. This is the second press. There was a first press that came out in like 2014. This is the 2017 reissue. It's got a little tear there up in the top corner there, but doesn't bother me too much. Got this for a good discount on the website out of Chicago. Man, this is so good. So this is like a DIY, very DIY, primitive, primal, lo-fi excursion. And it was just like a paste-on cover of them in their little home studio. Before I even knew about where they recorded this, I was like, man, this looks like some sort of dingy apartment flat in New Jersey. And they had to like almost ask permission to record in their little loft area, but I guess that's not the case. I guess it was actually recorded in one of the family's home. These guys are both named William, by the way, the Williams. And it's kind of hard to see, but in the original you can see a little better. It's a copy of Happy Jack by The Who up on their shelf. It's kind of interesting little footnote. So for the longest time, we didn't really know much about this record other than that it was a small press, 50 to 100 copies were pressed. And they just basically passed this out to family and friends and maybe a few copies to like the local head shop. These guys were definitely like some, Einstein sort of pot smoking hippies. Because some of this music even goes back to like late 69 up until 71 when they pressed this. And they have all this like just arsenal of different equipment. You can tell on the cover, he's got like a theremin he's working with some antennas and a lot of mics set up, and they got electric and bass guitar. But they also got like different oscillators working within their sound too, and primarily a drum machine, which you can hear pretty much all throughout the record. Opens up with a track called Excursion. It's just got this really dreadful, distressed kind of guitar feedback. And that kind of follows into a 15-minute track called Stone Freakout, which literally is. And there's a third guy in the band as well that kind of helped out with that. I guess he's just kind of roaming in back and forth in the room, just screaming nonsense, which is just fun in itself. And you can hear like the moment they hit record on that tape machine, that's just how warbly it starts out. And you can hear just the whole like deep subliminal vibration going on in the room itself. I mean, it's just so lo-fi. It's almost like, am I supposed to be listening to this? I feel like I'm listening to something kind of cryptic and secretive, And yeah, very strange, but man, I do love this though. So the other big highlights for me, the one right after it, the ballad, and then quotations Dreams, is a very cool, like, I don't want to say bossa nova rhythm to it, but it's got this kind of weird slap back sort of sound to it with the rhythm on the drum machine. Very fizzy sounding, and that kind of concludes us to side 2 with Tambula. It's like an 8-minute sort of loose, atmospheric kind of blues jam that they go off on. And then Fallen Tree is the other big highlight for me, where it's, again, kind of a primitive folk sound, a little more upbeat, and sort of recalls like a like Velvet Underground's self-titled record, where it's stripped down folk, but it just has a added drum machine. And this record often gets quoted as sort of a blend of pre-Suicide meets the Patron Saints, which they're not too far off on that one. So this is like a true Acid Archive cold case right here, man. This is like some super good, mysterious, late night indulgence. One of a kind record, even if it weren't meant to be publicly released, which it really wasn't. It was just kind of being like, hey guys, listen to what we can do in our house, and just pass it off to their stone buddies. So yeah, I think one of the guys years later got contacted, and he was kind of upset that he was found. But thankfully, the other William got interviewed and gives us a little story in this little booklet, which was pretty awesome. This is the first time I've ever seen this booklet and seeing some of these photos. So that's kind of how I got some of this added info to the discussion here. Let's see if we've got any other interesting photos. Not terribly great photos, but I guess they would play live a few times in their region. They're actually from just outside New York City into New Jersey area. I think it's Morristown. Yeah, that sounds right. And they're sitting there in this sort of like abandoned, really stone, dingy, cold-looking amphitheater. Yeah, Madrigal. This is the one I've been wanting, baby. Yeah, Subliminal Sounds. They do some good reissue work. I don't know if they've been really pumping stuff out lately or not. Side note, Kevin Gray, where are you, man? Let's touch up this bad boy. Let's get that audio file pressing going. Just kidding. You couldn't touch this masterpiece. You just can't. It's Madrigal, where it sounds like it's recorded in like a boiler room.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Sometimes you need low fidelity in your life, people. Let's just stop buying Fleetwood Mac reissues. Anyways, I spent enough time with that one. Definitely look into it. I recommend it. This last one, this is some truly cheap heat. We're talking $5-10 all day. This is one I've definitely spotted online many times, but just never really gave a full attention to it until Psychedelic guy here on YouTube, Alex, messaged me and told me about this one. Found a $5 copy on eBay, and this is Anthony Green and Barry Stagg, self-titled. Kind of an interesting looking duo there. It's on the United Artists label. And I forget the other artist that was on there. It's another duo. It's another folk duo. It's that 98% of Us. You know what band I'm talking about, right? I'll try to insert a photo. Very much reminds me of them. Very much in the same style, folk duo, folk pop style, but definitely some baroque, almost like Everly Brothers when they go kind of hip to the psych scene sort of sounds. Kind of reminds me of Roots by Everly Brothers in some spots. And even though a lot of the tracks do kind of sound quite alike, I think there's like 12, 13 tracks on here. Lots to dive into, but very good. I would say some of the better highlights. Fantasy with You is kind of more on the pop psych side.
And let me live the life I once knew, a fantasy with you.
Life and Love, it's a very beautiful track. And Linda is another big highlight for me on side 2.
Linda, guide my hand as I write this letter to try and say that it's over.
It's got that kind of close harmony work going for it. That's where the whole Everly Brothers thing comes into play. Maybe a little bit of Richard Twice on the Phillips label. Mixing that sort of classical with pop and, sort of that counterculture era, kind of moving out of that. And it's probably a pretty popular cutout, I would imagine. But you can still find this, like I said, $5-10. And it does its magic for you. So, yeah, I've listened to this probably 3 or 4 times in full and just really absorbing this one lately. So, thanks for the hip tip, Alex. Went over to the orange and black label, which reminds me of Omnibus. And speaking of Omnibus, if anybody has a spare album cover for that one, I'm in need. I've been without one for like probably 5-6 years. I even mentioned it on Discogs if anybody has a spare copy. It's just the way I found it. Yeah, that's all I got to share this evening. Just figured I'd make a video and kind of in a chill out mode. Might do some listening yet tonight. And I think the next video, hopefully I get an email from my label and we will be soon shipping the record out, but I don't really know what's slowing them down. It sounds like things have been running pretty quickly, but now we're just kind of in that slow halt right now. So we're just hoping for the best. It'll be out by 2026, we hope. Yeah, it shouldn't be much longer, but yeah, just kind of awaiting some correspondence from the label and where we can get these shipped, and setting up the whole Bandcamp site for Astral Yacht. And it's just kind of up in the air right now. The next video idea I think we'll do is probably retreat back to some themes we've been doing, like the all-time singles, which might be kind of slowing down on that. I think by the end of this year, I'd like to do another label spotlight. I have a label in mind. Ghostwriters as well. I got some LPs pulled out for that. So got things cooking. It's just slow cooking. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Love this stack I shared tonight. Let me know what you think of these, and we shall see you on the next one.
Why? Why is it there's so many things that you actresses and actors go through that people don't realize? But others do. You're not fooling anyone. You're not putting anybody on. You can all see through. Some things are important in life. Other things just aren't. And why is it? Why is it? You always get up so damn tight about certain things you say, when you know that the words you say aren't really your own. No, they're made up by some ego idiot who's 5,000 miles to the east or west, or even perhaps dead. God only knows. You see, it's me, it's my palette, it's my brush. I know where the beauty lies. I make the imperfections perfect.